Well, it's Black History Month again, and you will see events and lectures and TV programs and various celebrations taking place in your community. But did you know that Black History Month was never designed to be the only time that we study or celebrate Black history or African American history? Contrary to what actor Morgan Freeman thinks, who says he detests Black History Month and he says you're going to relegate my history to just 1 month, let's dispel some of these myths about Black History Month or African American History Month. I'm Michael Imhotep, historian and host of the African History Network show. First of all, white people did not give us Black History Month. What we today call African American History Month or Black History Month started in 1926 as Negro History Week, and it was the second week of February. It was created by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was a historian and educator, the second African American to get a PhD from Harvard, and he co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History September 9th, 1915 in Chicago. Dr. Carter G. Woodson is credited with laying the foundation for the widespread adoption of Black studies in American colleges, and he's known as the father of Black History Month and the father of Black history. Isn't it ironic that his most well-known book, and he wrote many of them, is The Miseducation of the Negro, which came out in 1933. And people criticize African American history or African American History Month. People who criticize it are ignorant, usually, of who Dr. Carter G. Woodson is. Now, to understand African American History Month, we must first understand Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was a scholar, historian, author, book publisher, college professor, educator, and lecturer. And he also created the Journal of Negro History in 1916. Now, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which is today called the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, was the first historical society devoted exclusively to research on the African American experience and on the history of African Americans. It was established to encourage scholarly achievement, to sponsor research projects, and to collect and preserve records documenting the past of African people and African Americans. At a time when few African Americans were invited to participate in historical conferences, the annual meeting of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History offered Black scholars an opportunity to present research papers before their peers. Even more importantly, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History began publication in 1916 of a scientific quarterly journal called the Journal of Negro History. Now, in 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson creates Negro History Week. It was celebrated the second week of February. He created this because as a historian and an educator, he understood that our children did not know their history, and many of their parents did not know their history either. Dr. Carter G. Woodson chose the second week in February to celebrate Negro History Week because it contains the birth dates of two people he felt were important in African American history. First, Frederick Douglass, whose assumed birth date was February 14th because Douglass didn't know his actual birth date or actually the year he was born. And secondly, February 12th, which was the birth date of President Abraham Lincoln. Now, even more importantly, he chose the second week in February because of celebrations that were already taking place in the African American community during that second week of February. Now, according to former Howard University history professor and my friend, Professor Dr. Darrell Scott, Dr. Darrell Scott said that since Lincoln's assassination in 1865, the Black community, along with other Republicans, had been celebrating the fallen president's birthday. And we know that since the late 1890s, Black communities across the country have been celebrating Frederick Douglass' birthday as well. More misconceptions about Black History Month. First of all, there's been an annual theme for Black History Month going back to 1928, okay, to give more purpose and give more focus to this monthly cultural celebration. This year's annual theme is African Americans and labor, African Americans and labor, and our contributions to the labor movement. Dr. Pero Gaglo Dagbovi in his book on Dr. Carter G. Woodson, said Dr. Woodson said blacks knew practically nothing about their history. He ultimately believed that African Americans could benefit immensely from knowledge of their past and accomplishments of their ancestors. And Dr. Woodson felt that a lot of racial prejudice was the byproduct of white people's beliefs that African Americans had not contributed anything of worth to world civilizations. Now, Dr. Woodson didn't just deal with African American history. He dealt with the contributions and accomplishments of African people on the continent of Africa and around the world. And his last 3 articles that he wrote dealt with ancient Egypt as well. Read my article here in the thread. In the notes, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. So Dr. Woodson felt that the week-long celebration should be a time that school children showed what they had been learning about history all year long. It was never designed to be the only time of the year that we taught African American history in the schools. It was also a time of reflection on our history and what had been accomplished in the United States by African Americans and on the continent of Africa. The 1960s had a dramatic effect on the study and celebration of African American history. Before the decade was over, Negro History Week would be well on its way to becoming Black History Month. The shift to a month-long celebration began even before Dr. Carter G. Woodson's death in 1950. As early as the 1940s, African Americans in West Virginia, a state where Dr. Woodson often gave lectures, began to celebrate February as Negro History Month. In Chicago, a now forgotten cultural activist, Frederick H. Hammurabi, started celebrating Negro History Month in the mid-1960s. Having taken an African name in the 1930s, Hammurabi used his cultural center, the House of Knowledge, to fuse African consciousness with the study of the African past. By the late 1960s, as young African Americans on college campuses became increasingly conscious of African history and the links to Africa, Black History Month replaced Negro History Week at a quickening pace. Within the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, young intellectuals were part of an awakening that prodded Dr. Woodson's organization to change with the times. They succeeded. In 1976, 50 years after the first celebration, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History used its influence to institutionalize the shifts from a week-long celebration to a month-long celebration, and from Negro History Week to Black History Month. Since the mid-1970s, every American president, Democrat or Republican, has issued a proclamation endorsing the association's annual theme. The first president to do that was President Gerald Ford in 1976. Now, what Dr. Carter G. Woodson would say about the continued celebrations is unknown. Now, you have some people who ask, when is White History Month? And they may say things like, well, other ethnic groups don't have their own monthly cultural celebrations. Well, that's not true. A few of them are Jewish American History Month, which is in May, National Hispanic History Month, which is September 15th to October 15th. Then you also have Hispanic Heritage Month, which is September 15th to October 15th. Irish American History Month is in March, because March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month is also in May. Haitian Heritage Month is in May. Native American History Month is in November. And German American, Polish American Heritage Month is in October. These are just a few of the monthly cultural celebrations that are celebrated throughout America. And each year, the President of the United States does an official proclamation recognizing those monthly cultural celebrations. I don't know if Donald Trump is going to continue doing that in his second term. We know he's cracked down on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anything dealing with race in the federal government. So there's also, as I stated, a annual theme for African American History Month or Black History Month. And some of those past themes have dealt with the continent of Africa. Now, there's been an annual theme since 1928. Some of those themes dealing with the continent of Africa are civilization, a world achievement. In 1928, 1933, Ethiopia meets era in truth. 1935, the Negro achievements in Africa. 1936, African background outlined, which is also the name of another book by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. 1960, strengthening America through education in Negro history and African culture. 1971, African civilization and culture, a worthy historical background. And we know in 2019, the theme was Black migrations. So hopefully this helped dispel myths. No, February is not the only time that we're supposed to study our history. And some people say things like, why we have the shortest month of the year? Well, if you just have to have 30 days to celebrate Black History Month to feel like a full human being and to feel like it's a worthwhile effort, there's no law stating that you can't continue to celebrate on March 1st and March 2nd. I know because I checked. So hopefully this video helped to clear up misinformation about Black History Month or African American History Month. For more information, visit asala.org, which is the Association for the Study of African American Life and History's website, asalh.org. And you can visit my website, africanhistorynetwork.com. Follow me on social media at Michael Imhotep, IMHOTEP, on Instagram and YouTube, and my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. Please like, share, and comment on this video. We may share your comments on my Sunday night show, The African History Network Show, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my social media platforms. Also, watch me on Roland Martin Unfiltered every Friday, providing historical and political analysis, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Black Star Network. If you like this type of information that we provide for you, you can also support the African History Network, $, the AHN Show through Cash App, and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We have the links here in the thread of the broadcast and on my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. And for those who are asking me, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? Who do you have in the Super Bowl? I'm wearing my Colin Kaepernick shirt on purpose because I haven't watched an NFL game or the Super Bowl since 2017 when Colin Kaepernick left the league. So I can care less about the Super Bowl, a halftime show, crip walking, any of that nonsense. And if you go watch my video that I did when the announcement was made between Jay-Z, Jigga, and the NFL for Jay-Z to produce halftime shows, I said and predicted the NFL made a backdoor deal with Jay-Z to push Colin Kaepernick out of the picture. And just the year before, 2 years before, Jay-Z put the call out to all the top acts not to perform at the NFL, not to perform at the Super Bowl. And then after Jay-Z signs this deal, you have Rihanna performing, you have Usher performing, you have Kendrick Lamar performing, you have Snoop and Dr. Dre, all the top acts once again. Okay, I told people, watch for the hook. Remember, right now is correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. Talk to you next time. Peace. Did you know that the Washington Monument is based upon an ancient African structure called a Tekken that comes from the mythology of Asar, Arset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus? Did you know that the panther deity Bast in the movie Black Panther and Wakanda Forever comes from an ancient African deity, a Neter, in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, called Bastet? Did you know that there were 17 pyramids found buried underneath Egypt around 2011. Also, the city of Memphis, Tennessee. What's the relationship between Memphis, Tennessee and Memphis in ancient Egypt? I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep. Be sure to register for my new 12-week online history course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Did you know that the word Wakanda is a real word? We find it in the Key Congo language, which is a Bantu language, but we also find it in the Omaha Ponca and Sioux Indian Native American languages. My class starts up Saturday, March 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a 12-week online history course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. We do with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. When we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we can't start our studying of the history in 1619 in Hampton, Virginia, or in Jamestown. We can't start in 1441 with the transatlantic slave trade starting with the Portuguese. We have to deal with thousands of years of history that leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We'll deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe, and this is what brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. We'll talk about ancient African empires, whether we deal with ancient Nubia, whether we deal with Kush, Kemet, Mali, Songhai, Ghana. This is a 12-week online history course. We deal with 80 to 100 articles. There are 200 slides that I show you in the class. There are video clips. There are 15 books that we reference. You don't have to buy any of the books to follow along in class. It's a very visual class, so we show you all that information right on the screen. The class is PG-13 as well, so you can use this with your children. Download my lesson plan from my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register right now. Right now, let's correct strong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. African History.